Welcome to the August 18th, 2018 edition of the BitcoinNews.com radio show. We have the news show every day forever, and if you stay with us and listen to every one of our shows, you will be an expert in cryptocurrency, blockchain, and Bitcoin in no time. I'm your host from the outer limits of space, Space Marine.
And I am your co-host, Space Cadet. Thanks for joining us wherever you are this night, this evening, or this morning. Bitcoin's sitting at $6,400 this time of the evening. Space Marine.
Correct, Space Cadet. Bitcoin is at $6,360 at this time on Bitfinex, but of course, the Bitcoin price changes all the time, and it doesn't really matter what exact dollar value it's at. It's been between $6,600 and $6,200 in about the past 48 hours. It's going up and down a lot. This is good for people that can capitalize on these market fluctuations by buying and selling Bitcoin back and forth for day trading. I don't know how they do it. I think a lot of them are not successful because I've tried doing it. You can get lucky sometimes, but day trading is really not the way of Bitcoin. You should be trading Bitcoin long term because it's going to go up a lot in the future. That's what some of the experts say. One of the experts, quote unquote, John McAfee, says he will eat his manhood on national television if Bitcoin doesn't hit $1 million in like the next couple years, by like 2020 or maybe 2022 at the latest. And I agree with him. I don't agree that he should eat his manhood. I think that'd be very painful. I think he will back out. I don't think John McAfee has the balls to eat his manhood over the Bitcoin price. But maybe he's betting that Bitcoin's price will go so high that he can afford to get a new manhood attached to him and professionally made and better than before. So if Bitcoin's price goes up enough, it won't matter if he loses this bet. Back to the topic. Yeah, Bitcoin is cryptographic security. It's efficient. You can send it anywhere in the world instantly, and it actually confirms, like, it doesn't confirm instantly. It takes like 10 minutes on average to confirm. It can take 10 seconds or an hour or two. Sometimes it's taking me an hour or two, but that's rare. It's usually like a minute. So yeah, Bitcoin can confirm in like a minute or 10 minutes on average, but it's actually there instantly. Like the second you send Bitcoin, it's there with no confirmations, but it's quite instant, as fast as the internet can move, as fast as electrons can move across the world. And you can send $1 billion of Bitcoin for the same price or same fee that you sent $10 of Bitcoin. We're talking like a few cents here for Bitcoin fees. At the minimum, you could pay like 30 cents or $1 if you really want to be sure about the fees. But either way, you can send $1 billion for less than $1 with Bitcoin. You can't do that with any other financial product in the world. No bank can offer that. And this combination of cryptographic security plus liquidity, it's just as liquid as the US dollar is in the financial system of the world. You can send it anywhere just like the US dollar. So Bitcoin's actually designed as like a better form of currency. The USD is a fiat currency, and fiat currencies are on an inevitable path of inflation, hyperinflation, and then collapse. So the USD is the one that's going to get there the slowest because the USD is the strongest fiat currency. The USD started fiat currency during the Nixon shock, when the Bretton Woods Agreement was undone, which pegged the US dollar to gold, and then other foreign currencies were pegged to the USD. They got rid of that whole thing. It was a great system, actually. But they decided they wanted to print more money than the money they had. So they got rid of it. It's as simple as that. And now all the fiat currencies are slowly collapsing. And Bitcoin basically has all the benefits of a fiat currency, like you can send it anywhere instantly. But it's cryptographically secure, so it's actually safer. Money is hackable in any form besides Bitcoin. Or stealable. Money is quite physical oftentimes, and people could steal it. Bitcoin is not like that. It's hidden in your phone, hidden on your computer. It's not obvious that you're carrying around money with Bitcoin. And then it's a computer algorithm, so it has a fixed supply of 21 million coins. There's no money printing from a central organization. And not only does the United States print the USD for money, they leverage it too. They totally could change the parameters of the USD and abuse it to make profits. Bitcoin doesn't have anyone in charge that would be predisposed to abusing it to pay for a government debt. And that's like the biggest thing. So Bitcoin can't be printed out of control. At a point it won't be printed anymore. It can't be abused by government. It's decentralized. Bitcoin's decentralized. The USD is centralized. And centralization is bad for the people that hold the currency because it allows people in charge of it to take value away from it into their own pockets. And then we're talking about it's cryptographically secure, it's efficient, you can send it anywhere in the world. So Bitcoin is on track to replace fiat currency. And it could quite possibly hit $1 million, maybe not as fast as John McAfee is saying. And then beyond that, the Bitcoin might become the only currency in the world that anything is pegged to, or like milk and oil and other food will have a Bitcoin price, and there'll be no more USD prices anymore, or whatever native fiat currency you use. It'll all just be Bitcoin prices. I think that's the real future. At that point, Bitcoin would be so valuable because there's 7.5 billion people in the world, and if Bitcoin becomes the number one currency, there's gonna be like only small fractions of a Bitcoin for like each government, pretty much. For real, like the smaller governments are the ones that are less likely to get into it first. They're gonna have like no Bitcoin. They're gonna have less than a Bitcoin. So if you could buy a Bitcoin now, you're probably gonna have more Bitcoin than like an entire government in the future.
It could be the first worldwide currency, I believed. Yeah.
Affirmative Space Cadet. Right now, fiat currencies are worldwide, but they're all different in every country. And Bitcoin has the potential to be the first real universal currency in the world. Like gold, kind of, but gold's not used by every country as standard. They use their fiat. But Bitcoin has the potential to be like the real currency and like everywhere at the same time. And it's already happening by itself because people are deciding Bitcoin's better than fiat and they're using it now. And that's a great sign. Just imagine when fiat's really collapsing like it's happening in Venezuela. That's going to be our first story. In Venezuela, the price of Bitcoin has gone up to $60 billion. And this is right before they switch over to the sovereign Bolivar. They're at the Bolivar Fuerte, which is worth 1,000 times more than the previous Bolivar. It's called the Strong Bolivar. Their currency has been inflating so bad they've had the Bolivar Fuerte. Now the Bolivar Fuerte is going out of existence. One Bitcoin, 60 billion Bolivar Fuerte. Yes, it's 10 million Bolivar Fuertes for $1. So they're cutting off 100,000 to 1 ratio. They're cutting off like 5 zeros from the Bolivar Fuerte, and they're going to create the Sovereign Bolivar. And this is actually many stories in one. Venezuela is launching their own cryptocurrency called the Petro. They've actually launched it. It's really confusing how they're launching it. It's illegal, so there's not much data on it. The United States made Petro illegal because it's obviously going to be used for smuggling or going around the sanctions, to be more precise. The U.S. has issued sanctions on Venezuela like they have in Iran, and they've made it illegal for Venezuela to send money abroad until Venezuela complies with the demands, and I don't think anyone even knows the demands anymore, but we're not a politics show. So, Venezuela has now decided their Petro currency is going to be an official currency. It's going to be tied to the Sovereign Bolivar somehow. I don't think it's going to work. You gotta be real careful and real honest to like tie a currency to something like a cryptocurrency because there's no way for people to check. So I don't think it's gonna be tied. The Petro will also be an official currency though, so people might choose to buy Petro and use it because Petro, there's not that many of them. I think it's 100 million Petros. It could become quite popular in Venezuela because Bitcoin's not firmly legal there. Like it's legal, but it's like very looked down upon. Everyone could decide they're just gonna use the Petro because the government would love when you're using the Petro. You would never get in trouble for that. So people might decide to buy up this currency, even though it's like probably not that great. They'll buy it up in Venezuela, and Petro could gain a lot of value. But it's illegal for anyone to buy Petro, so no one try to buy Petro. Anyone who listens to this show really should not buy it because the U.S. government could charge you with crimes for dealing with Petro. Unless you're in Venezuela, if you're listening to the show from Venezuela, then yeah, you can go ahead and buy some Petro. It's legal in Venezuela and nowhere else. It would have been really smart for Venezuela to adopt Bitcoin and make that their national currency at this point. First off, Bitcoin is totally legal in the United States, and if Venezuela adopted Bitcoin as a national currency, the United States could not make Bitcoin illegal. They'd be mad about it, but it's too firmly established in the U.S. and the rest of the world to be made illegal, besides in a few countries like Saudi Arabia. Secondly, Venezuela is having a bad economic time, but they have plenty of money at the government level at the top. They could buy a bunch of Bitcoins of like hundreds of millions of dollars or like even $1 billion. I'm sure they could scrounge it up. And then they can announce to the world that Bitcoin is now their official currency, and that would cause a massive Bitcoin rally all by itself. Even though Venezuela is not that big compared to the rest of the world, it's still an entire big country in South America. And if they adopted Bitcoin, Bitcoin's price would rally like crazy. And then Venezuela, if they did this right, they could have like $1 billion of Bitcoin or more, like $10 billion of Bitcoin. Why not? And they can make tons of money on it, which they need right now. And I think they actually might end up doing that. This is total speculation, but they have this new central bank for cryptocurrency in Venezuela. It's probably the first country that has a central bank for cryptocurrency. Basically, Venezuela's currency collapsed, like we just said, and they're done with fiat currency. They're like, okay, cryptocurrency is obviously better. So even though Venezuela's really looked down upon by the media, but they're actually doing something really futuristic, and everyone's not really paying attention to what they're doing. They're creating a central bank for cryptocurrencies, and I see no reason why there wouldn't be a ton of Bitcoin in that central bank for cryptocurrency. If you put a bunch of Bitcoin experts together at a central bank, that's what they would do. They would buy as much Bitcoin as possible. So I think Venezuela's going to stash some Bitcoins, and then eventually they might just say, okay, Petro's not doing that good, so Bitcoin's now the official currency. Because the central bank of cryptocurrency could decide that. So this is exciting stuff in Venezuela. Now for our next story.
Fidelity offers access to the Bitcoin ETN.
Affirmative Space Cadet. The first Bitcoin ETN exchange traded note in the United States, because this one was available. It's called Bitcoin Tracker 1. It was available in Europe since 2015, and it was a regulated security that people could trade to invest in Bitcoin. And Bitcoin Tracker 1 actually buys Bitcoins for each purchase made with their ETN, Exchange Traded Note. So it actually affects Bitcoin spot price. Like if people are buying Bitcoins through the ETN, it will affect the Bitcoin demand in the world on the spot market. It uses physical Bitcoins. And this is very important. It provides a direct link from the stock world to the Bitcoin world, this ETN. So Fidelity is a major stock trading platform. They probably transact like trillions of dollars over time. And now they're going to have an option for Bitcoin available. And this is big news. So now investors across the United States and possibly the world are going to have easy access to buying Bitcoin. And this is just as good as an ETF. It was like a sleeper. It was like the underdog that no one even knew about. The Bitcoin Exchange Traded Fund, everyone's getting excited about that, but the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, wants to approve an ETF because making an ETF of anything, not just Bitcoin, is a law change, so they have to change the law for each ETF particularly. And they don't like Bitcoin. They're anti-Bitcoin. They think it's too risky and it's dangerous. I'm not going to speculate why they think that. So the SEC is blocking the ETFs. The Winklevoss Bitcoin Trust ETF was rejected. The Solid X Van Eck Bitcoin ETF has been stalled, and it could be stalled to 2019 and then rejected, and it probably will be. But now the ETN is not controlled by them apparently, or it's already been approved and they couldn't stop it. I would have to research this a bit more to figure out who exactly is in charge of regulating ETNs. But it's a regulated security product available on United States stock platforms like Fidelity. And now institutional investors will be like, hey, I want to put 1% of my portfolio in Bitcoin. If all the institutional investors put 1% of the portfolio in Bitcoin, and that's a great idea. Bitcoin's a great way to diversify. It's a totally different asset class that's gaining steam rapidly over the past few years. Even the past 9 years since it started, it's been gaining steam rapidly. So it has some reputation. It's a great way to diversify. And they could take 0.1% or 1% and put it in Bitcoin. And that would cause a massive Bitcoin rally. And it would be self-feeding. It would be like a feedback loop, a positive feedback loop. It would go up rapidly, and then all the institutional investors will start dumping money to Bitcoin. It could go beyond our wildest imaginations this next rally. And I don't know if this ETN can handle it. I don't know how good the volume is on there or what the limits are. But if it really is an open channel where institutional investors could buy Bitcoin on a stock trading platform, what I'm saying is true. It would go up so fast. I don't know if this is it, though.
They currently have 434 million worth of assets under management, with most of it at 300 million for Bitcoin.
So that's how much Bitcoin they bought so far at Bitcoin Tracker 1?
Yes.
Thanks, Space Cadet. So they have less than $1 billion of Bitcoin, but hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin is still a significant amount of investment, and they're just in the United States now, so it'll be interesting to watch that number and see if it grows over time. On to our next story.
Nearly $1 trillion worth of Bitcoin has been transferred in 2018. That's crazy, Space Marine.
Yes, Space Cadet, totally crazy. $1 trillion of Bitcoin has been sent. This is like far more than the past. It's starting to become a major financial system in the world, Bitcoin itself. It's becoming an entire financial system. $1 trillion is tons and tons of money. It's $1,000 billion. And a billion is 1,000 million. So this is like so much money being transferred to Bitcoin. And Ethereum's at $500 million transferred so far in 2018. So this is just a good indication that cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, or Ethereum and Bitcoin to be specific, are rapidly gaining global adoption. Now for our next story.
California is open to allowing crypto political donations, Space Marine.
Affirmative, Space Cadet. They're actually legal in the entire United States already. So I guess California is trying to regulate it themselves. That's what this really means. They're trying to regulate political donations with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And it's not really that big of a difference anyways when they do accept Bitcoin. Like, one of the candidates is accepting Bitcoin. He's gotten some huge donations. But everything over like $10,000 or something low like that gets rejected. Like, he has to send it back. Which is not the best idea with Bitcoin. You can't really usually send the Bitcoin back to the address it came from. That's not good. That's not a good way to do it. So I hope he actually talked to the people and sent it back to them. But they were anonymous, so maybe he didn't talk to them and just sent it back to their exchange address, and that would be the wrong address to be lost. Which is totally crazy. But anyways, these political campaigns have a low limit of like $10,000 under federal law per donation. And it can't be anonymous. Like, if someone chooses to be anonymous, they can't donate unless it's like a very, very, very small amount, I think. I'm not sure. It might be like any amount. You have to tell who you are under the campaign finance laws. So cryptocurrency is not really ideal for political campaign donations versus anything else. You can still donate only a small amount of it. I guess it increases the efficiency at which people across the world could donate to a political campaign. So that's a good thing. But other than that, it's not like Bitcoin people can send like a bunch of Bitcoin at once to someone they want to win and help that person win, because each person can only send a small amount of Bitcoin. Thanks for listening. That's all we have for you on this August 18th, 2018 edition of the BitcoinNews.com daily radio show. Go to BitcoinNews.com for the full spectrum of blockchain, Bitcoin, and cryptocurrency news. If you read BitcoinNews.com, you'll be an expert and you'll have news to read all day, every day, and that's exciting. So this is Space Marine signing out.
And this is Space Cadet signing out as well. Thanks for listening.